All right, that was the president obviously talking about the MS-13 members, if anyone pays attention to it. What's so despicable but yet predictable is how the news media tried to spin that. He's calling immigrants animals. The question specifically dealt with MS-13 gang members. Yeah, dangerous people. And yeah, we know the crimes and the murder and all of the actions and crimes associated with that group. Anyway, just a typical day in the news media in the United States today, which is so sad. Fake news, if you want to call it that, and more. Joining us now, former Speaker of the House, author of the soon-to-be released book, Trump's America. Newt Gingrich is back with us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. And by the way, you know, the most recent part of this dance is Nancy Pelosi defending MS-13.
That's so true. That's another headed point. Good point.
Think about this. You have Trump and anybody who has read the horrible crimes, the deliberate viciousness, the gang rapes, the murders, the torturing. MS-13 is a truly bad organization. But to get to a point where liberals just can't help themselves, so she's out now basically defending MS-13, wanting us to be sympathetic to their basic humanness. Well, you show me somebody who has been part of gang raping a 13-year-old or somebody who's been part of torturing a 17-year-old. It's a little hard for me to be too sympathetic.
You know, last night, we've been going over in all the detail, and I can really sum it up this way in terms of where we are, and now we're heading into the release of Michael Horowitz's investigation as it relates to the Clinton email server scandal. This is what we know. We know Hillary, by choosing to bypass congressional oversight, put her server, that in fact had top secret, classified, special access programming information on it, that we believe at least 5 or 6 foreign intelligence agencies hacked into. She put it in a mom and pop shop bathroom closet. That's illegal. It's a violation of the law. 18 U.S.C. 793. Well, those emails were subpoenaed. She deleted them. Then she acid washed the hard drive. Nobody knew about BleachBit until then. Then, of course, devices were busted up just in case some of the emails still existed there. Then we had an exoneration investigation that was being written by Peter Strzok and James Comey in May before they ever interviewed Hillary and 17 other witnesses in July. 3 days after the Hillary interview, they exonerate Hillary, even though they admit she had done all these things. Now we know 3 days after that, Crossfire Hurricane begins, a secret operation by the FBI to investigate Donald Trump. Peter Strzok, the Trump hater, the one that exonerated Hillary, interviewed Hillary, he's now leading up this investigation. We know that led to the point where, you know, they decided to get a FISA warrant based on a Hillary Clinton bought and paid for dossier put together by a foreign national, Christopher Steele, with proven now Russian lies and misinformation. It was never verified, corroborated, presented in an original application of the FISA court, and they never told the judge they never verified or that Hillary had paid for it. It happened in 3 subsequent renewal applications. Now, you've been in politics a long time, sir. Break all of that down for me and tell me what this means for this country.
Well, what it means is that we were very close to having the top levels of the Justice Department, the White House, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation engaged in systemic corruption on a scale that we have literally never seen in the United States, ranging from the millions of dollars the Russians gave the Clinton Foundation, the $500,000 speech the Russians paid for from Bill Clinton, the deliberate cover-up. I mean, just the simple fact, you're not allowed to delete 33,000 emails from a server that involved government information, and then you get to tell us that we should trust you? I mean, anybody except Hillary Clinton who did that would have gone to jail in no time at all, because it's an open and shut case. We put young men and women who are in the services in jail for minor infractions compared to what Hillary Clinton did. And then you turn around, and it's not bad enough that they're in the tank, totally corrupt for Hillary Clinton. They go out of their way to launch I think, the most amazing project we've seen maybe since J. Edgar Hoover was wiretapping Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, you have this run amok top people, and we were discussing this today at Gingrich Productions because we were sorting out Andy McCarthy's brilliant new column on the New York Times story today, and everything that's involved here. And part of what hit me that all of us have understated, this is Barack Obama. This you couldn't have had this level of activity without Obama and the Obama White House being involved. Everything we know about how they ran things, they had an iron grip. They had people who were frightened of them and loyal to them. And all of this, in the end, had to, just as they methodically lied to the country about Benghazi, and no reasonable person today can doubt that, I think they methodically set out to guarantee that Trump would not win and to set him up for destruction. And I think they were prepared to corrupt the FBI senior level and corrupt the Justice Department to do it. It's astounding. There's nothing like it in American history.
I have said this is, it's so much bigger than Watergate. I call it the biggest abuse of power scandal in our history. If you take any one component, Hillary and putting top secret classified special access programming information on a mom and pop shop server, that in and of itself is huge. Any American that went through the efforts of obstructing justice with subpoenaed emails and acted that way would be put in jail. Then you take it to the next level. And, of course, the fix was in for her. And you've got these we now have text messages of the people investigating hated Donald Trump and helped Hillary. Or the FISA court. Could you imagine if Sean Hannity or Newt Gingrich presented to any judge in this country information that we'd never verified, never corroborated, turned out to be Russian lies, that was bought and paid for, say, by us, and we didn't inform the judge of that important fact? Any one of those things would put us away forever. I mean,
and remember, you have the President of the United States, President Obama, publicly saying he is certain that Hillary will not be indicted. You have his Attorney General saying to the head of the FBI, I think you should use the same language that the Clinton campaign is using to describe what you're looking into. Now, I mean, that is a level of politicizing the justice system that is really sobering, and I think really, for any serious person, more than a little frightening.
Well, you have Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, who in many, many ways, in my opinion, is missing in action. And Rod Rosenstein, who's so conflicted. Rod Rosenstein writes the letter to recommending firing Comey. Rod Rosenstein himself signed off on one of those FISA applications to spy on a Trump campaign associate with the bulk of the information coming from the phony dossier. How did he get to appoint Robert Mueller in the first place? Then you look at Robert Mueller's team of Democratic donors and frankly, people with the worst track record as it relates to ethics before courts.
Well, and remember, you also have in Rosenstein somebody who was trying not to give any of this information to the Congress. He has been, not because any of it's secret, not because any of it involves national security. These guys have been engaged in a gigantic, massive cover-up. And I think it's beginning to all unravel.
How do we actually get this all cleaned up to the point? I know the Inspector General is going to do their job. A lot of people are very skeptical. A lot of people say to me, the Clintons have always been able to dodge everything all throughout their careers, going back to Whitewater, Travelgate, all of, selling the Lincoln bedroom out and all these other scandals. What makes you think this time that people will be held responsible? Well, I know we've had fired and now retired and some people let go at the FBI. That's a start. I think it was really, but I think there are other players here. You're right. I think this goes to the upper levels of the Obama administration. We're beginning to learn more about Brennan and Clapper, who are known liars.
Yeah. I think too many people have been involved doing too many things for the cover-up to have survived. And I think, and I keep using the term unraveling because I think that's what happens as a historian. When I look at these kind of scandals, they start to unravel almost like a piece of cloth. And you gradually, this person collapses, then that person collapses, then you get this report, then you get that report. And every week there are new things that are almost impossible to imagine. And all of them involve the elite media trying to cover up and protect the left-wing bureaucrats and the left-wing people who were, I believe, clearly violating the law. But I also think that Congressman Nunes deserves an enormous amount of credit.
And the Freedom Caucus guys, too. They've been great.
And so I think when you look also at Grassley, the chair of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, and Goodlatte, the chair in the House of the Judiciary, those guys have also stood up. So you've had some very stand-up guys who have begun to make a big difference. And you're exactly right. When you look at the work that was done by Jim Jordan and others in the Freedom Caucus, again, there's been this continuous pressure where people have had the courage not to back down, not to give up, not to get exhausted. And so I think this is going to just continue to grow. I think the more we learn, the bigger the momentum will be to strip back the lies and to get to what really happened.
Oh, I think we've been slowly unpeeling that onion every single day. Let me get back to Jeff Sessions for a minute. None of this happens at Jeff Sessions the day after he's confirmed recusing himself. Why didn't he tell the president that he was going to do that? Because the president has a right to have an attorney general of his choice, not one forced upon him in all of this. In the case of Rod Rosenstein, who I believe is very conflicted.
Well, and look, I think that Sessions now has every right to step back in and withdraw his recusal, because it's very clear we're not doing anything involving the campaign. And remember, the original excuse for the recusal was that he'd been involved in the campaign, there were some questions, and he might be conflicted. None of the stuff they're now looking at in any way is a conflict for Sessions, and frankly, he ought to do his job, and he ought to take back control, and he ought to have Mueller report direct to him, and he ought to manage it, which is, the system's not designed to have an independent counsel run amok. The system's designed to have the senior leadership of the Justice Department looking over their shoulder and guiding them and limiting them.
Well, the fact that they've slow-walked, they've used national security and as a justification for redactions, and it proves that it's not even there's no national security interest in it, and then just downright not abiding by subpoenas. So I think the president should step in and order the attorney general to have all these documents sent to Congress. They have constitutional oversight authority. We do have a checks and balances system and co-equal branches of government. 800-941-SEAN is our number if you want to be a part of the program. All right, as we continue with the former Speaker of the House, soon to be releasing his next book, Trump's America, Newt Gingrich is with us. Let's talk about the 2018 election. A lot of people in the press have been talking about this big blue wave. Historically, midterm elections don't go well for the party in power at the White House. Why do I think all bets are off in terms of predictions this year?
Well, I just did a newsletter at Gingrich Productions on the whole notion that all the people who were wrong in 2015 and all the people who were wrong in 2016 are now back being wrong again. I mean, why would you think they've learned anything? And these are all the folks who don't get what's going on. I think that the blue wave is at most going to be a blue trickle. I think it might not even be that by the time we get to Election Day. Watching the Democratic Party self-destruct in these primaries is amazing. They're nominating, in Houston, they nominated an openly anti-Semitic candidate. They've nominated openly socialist candidates, people who run around and say, yes, I'm a socialist. Not even claim to be a Democrat. So in a very real sense, you're seeing a brand new Sanders wing of the Democratic Party emerge that is so far to the left. I mean, in the age of Venezuela and the collapse of socialism and the human pain of the Cuban system, how could anybody think that in a general election socialism is going to work? So I'm watching a Democratic Party, frankly, run off a cliff. And I think that the odds are very good that Trump is going to be able to rally the nation and be able to win a surprising victory this fall.
Oh, I got to actually say goodbye. I'm looking at my clock. I'm a little long here. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, we always love having you, sir. Thank you for being with us.